Man, looking at all this, and if you know what happened every single game and how close a bunch of these games were and what it came down to essentially, then you know it was a wild week. But that's why we watch football. Hey there, peeps, Detective Woo here. Oh my goodness, week 3 was kind of a wild one. Uh, we got a couple of crazy upsets last week, and we had a bunch of wild finishes involving field goals for whatever reason. So how does that affect how my predictions went? I went 11-5 last week. Um, I probably could have gotten 13 if the Patriots didn't fuck up their play calling and the Packers actually didn't blow it on defense. And Love didn't throw that pick, but hey, it's whatever it is. Uh, that brings my total record up to 31-17. And going over a few games, this game was a little closer than I probably would have thought. This was the upset of the week. The Browns beating the Packers, probably the worst team in the league at that point, beating the best. Yikes. You can see only 2% of users on ESPN picked the Browns to even win this game. So to call this an upset is a massive understatement. This game was a blowout. I did not expect it to be one. This game was close, but it went the wrong way for me. The Eagles needed to come back to win this game. I'll discuss that later on. This was another blocked field goal game, along with the Packers Browns game and the Rams Eagles game. But it was the losers who actually blocked the field goal this time. Tampa actually got their redemption a few minutes later. Without Jaden Daniels, the Commanders come through, beating the Raiders on Sunday. The Texans, it might almost be panic time for the Texans at this point. They fall to the Jaguars and are now 0-3. Who would have expected that at the beginning of the season? The Colts offense might be the biggest comeback story of the year so far. Indiana Daniel Jones, Daniel Indiana Jones leading this offense is something else, man. The Falcons, after beating the Vikings handily on Sunday, get the doors blown off them on this past Sunday. And the Chargers have moved up to 3-0 with all 3 wins being against the division opponents, which is huge for the Chargers. The Seahawks blew the door off the Saints. The Bears blew the doors off the Cowboys. This game was really damn close. I think it also came down to a field goal with the Niners taking it at the end of the day. The Chiefs finally get their first win of the year. It took them a bit to get rolling, but once they did, they slammed the door on the Giants pretty quick. And then the Lions, I think each team had to come back from some sort of deficit, but it was the Lions who ended up getting the win at the end of the day. Scoring, I believe, like 21 unanswered points to close the door on the Ravens. I had 75 points for this game. It ended up being 68, so that was a pretty close call. But yeah, week 3 was kind of wild. Is week 4 going to get any crazier? We got a couple of games, including a doubling game. That sounds familiar. A couple of landslided matchups. We got we got a couple of maybe like watch out for certain things happening. We got a couple of interesting matchups. It's still a crime that this game is at a noon slate again. Why are the Eagles playing at a noon slate? I could understand if one of the Eagles games these past 2 weeks were on like a noon slate while the other was like in the prime time slot. But both of these games, really? Ugh. Anyways, getting back into it though. I went 11-5. My goal was last week was 12-4. I didn't quite get that, but considering the craziness of last week, I'll take 11-5. It's what I did during week 1. It was a lot better than week 2. So I hope to improve and just not go 9-7 again this week. But at this point, you never really know what's going to happen. So, with that being said, it is my goal to try and predict it anyway. So let's start things off. We got the game tomorrow. We got a pretty good matchup. The Thursday night football game. We got the Seattle Seahawks traveling to State Farm Stadium to take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks, they blew the doors off the Saints, and it's like they were playing some sort of like low tier college team. They were up like 38-3 or 38-6 at the half. I honestly think the Seahawks could have put a 70 burger on the Saints if they really wanted to last week. But it was the offense that really clicked for me. I think Seattle so far is doing a pretty damn good job of proving me wrong, especially Sam Darnold in that offense. I thought Seattle at the beginning of the year was going to be a really, really, take a really big step back. But right now they're proving me wrong. And honestly, good for them because it means a more competitive NFC West, which is quite entertaining football, especially for this game. You got the Arizona Cardinals too. They came off a very, very close win. I think people are going to remember that game mainly from Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping that one dime Kyler Murray threw late in the game. But at the same time, the Niners looked that damn good, even without a bunch of key players. So, how does Arizona recover from that game? It is going to be at home. It's on prime time. Do I trust the Seahawks that much? Because right now, it's like my mind is like, are they really for real? Because they played the Niners. They didn't look so good. They played the Steelers, who probably should have lost last week. And they played the Saints, who was probably going to be the first overall picked anyway. So it's a debate of how good the Seahawks really are this year. As for the Cardinals, they played it close against the Saints when they went to New Orleans. They let the Carolina Panthers get back into the game in their home opener, and then they drop a very, very heartbreaking game against the Niners in a very, very important divisional game. So both of these teams have lost to the Niners. So you're looking at whoever loses this game is going to go 2 games down in the divisional record, which is not great to start off the year. So, with that being said, who really needs this game more? Right, the Cardinals are just lost, but the Seahawks are trying to build momentum and try to prove against a pretty good team how their season's gonna play out. I am gonna go Seattle here. I do like the offense, and I think they did find the momentum that they do have. And I'm a little concerned about what the Cardinals' defense is going to look like against them. I probably do trust the Seahawks' offense to get rolling more than the offense of the Cardinals at this point, because I'm not sure the defenses will be all right. But I think at the end of the day, Sam Darnold, for whatever reason, is just proving me wrong right now. Unless something happens, I think I am going to go Seattle because we all know how Arizona usually does. They usually start off strong and then they usually blow games. And it kind of showed last week, so I think this is probably the safer pick. But you never know. Sometimes even the Cardinals can prove me wrong. And then we got a very interesting international game. The first ever in Dublin, Ireland. It's like I was there like a month ago. We got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whew! The Vikings, man, look completely different under Carson Wentz. And the thing is, I think even though Burrow is out, it is a testament to how the Vikings looked. Because I still don't think Jake Browning is that bad of a backup. But it is going to be, he was put in a really tough position. And do the Vikings just look better without J.J. McCarthy? I don't really know. But whatever happened, I was expecting completely for the Bengals and Vikings game to be a lot closer than it was. I did take Minnie in that game. I didn't expect them to blow the doors off Cincinnati. And, yeah. a surprise to me just seeing how badly they won. Uh, so it will be Carson Wentz again because McCarthy is still out with that ankle injury. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Steelers, they probably got away with one last week. Some of the I was watching some of the highlights for the end of the game last week. New England really shot themselves in the foot. But the congrats to Aaron Rodgers for surpassing his mentor on the all-time passing TD list. He's in fourth now, I believe. And well, yes, hello Pika, hello Andrew, Lau. I think that's how it's pronounced. But anyways, the Steelers, they probably should have lost. They didn't play particularly great. Yes, the defense really did lock down when it needed to, but how much of that is really just New England shooting themselves in the foot compared to actually good defensive tactics? Because I kind of saw that last play, especially where Pittsburgh turned New England down on the fourth down play. That how much of that was really on the defense is my question going into this game. Um, Both defenses probably should. This should probably be a good defensive battle. Um, I don't expect either offense to be lighting it up. It is a neutral site. It is across the pond. So who do I take in this game? I think. I think I am, because the thing is, the Steelers didn't play it great in week 2. They let the Jets really get hang in there in week 1. I think I am gonna go with the Vikings this week. I think I like the Vikings a little more. Yes, they didn't play great the first 2 weeks, but I think they had a turning point last week where they finally figured some stuff out, and I think it is going to carry over to this game. But it is going to be interesting to see how the Steelers really recover from barely escaping New England with a win. So I don't think either team should be blowing each other out. I think this is going to be a really, really good game. And if you're going to be up at like 8 a.m. or whatnot, what does it say, 8:30 in the morning, then yeah, it is going to be a pretty damn good game. But I think I am going to go with the Vikings here. I do like I do like the Vikings finding that new momentum more than what I've been seeing from the Steelers these past 3 weeks. But it is a tough call, and if the Steelers win this game, then I just lost the coin toss. So call me the Atlanta Falcons of the Super Bowl, of their last Super Bowl. Speaking of the Falcons, we start off our slate of noon games. Our first one we're going to predict, we got the Washington Commanders going to the Atlanta Falcons. Alright, starting off with Washington. It's like they really did not need Jaden Daniels at all. They put a 40 burr on the Raiders in their 41-24 victory. We have, I think, Jaden Daniels is going on a day-to-day, so we don't know if he's going to be back this week or not. He most likely will, but it's gonna be a tight call at the end of the day, just like it was last week. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, though, if you watch that game, I am so sorry if you're a Falcons fan. After lighting it up on Minnesota in Week 2 Sunday Night Football game on primetime, they laid an egg against the Panthers last week. Not only losing in a blowout fashion, but getting shut out. Michael Penix Jr. was benched for Kirk Cousins, and I believe Cousins is going to be starting in this game against his former team. So it's going to be call this a Kirk Cousins revenge game. So it is going to be a very, very interesting way, because the Falcons really need to rebound from this game to have any chance of catching Tampa for the divisional crown, especially with them playing the Eagles this week. So, and then meanwhile, the Commanders really need to keep up with Philly, who's playing Tampa this week. So think of it as these two teams really needing this game early on to stay in their divisional title races and potentially for a wild card berth. Who do I like more? I gotta go with Washington, especially after the really, really bad performance by the Falcons. Like a week ago, I was saying how good the Falcons were looking. This week, this week they look kind of broken. So I don't know how they're gonna look come week 4. But maybe the Falcons find some momentum and sneak out a win in this game. But I think the Commanders just look too good, even if Daniels isn't playing in this game, to really let the Falcons have any kind of edge on them. So I am going to go with Washington. And Atlanta, you really, really need to figure out if Penix is the guy. Because he can't be doing that against really bad teams. Because how's he going to look against these really more competent ones? And then we probably have a scheduled execution at noon on Sunday with this next game. We got the 0-3 New Orleans Saints going to the 3-0 Buffalo Bills. If you thought last week had a really, really, like, a tale of two different teams, this week might be an even better example. New Orleans, after putting up really good fights at home against the Cardinals and 49ers, really laid an egg in Seattle and got the doors blown off them. I'm surprised Seattle didn't run up the score a little bit more. They probably could have put 60, maybe even 70 points on the Saints if they really wanted to. But the Saints look broken. Like this is kind of the Saints we expected right out the gate. Maybe it just took them a little longer to really form into that. And yeah, this is your reminder that the Saints are rebuilding and should not be taken very seriously. And on the other side, the Bills probably look like one of, if not the best team in the AFC right now. The Bills took care of business against Miami. It was a little bit closer of a game, but they still really dominated them on most fronts of the game. You just wonder if this game's gonna be just like the Seattle game was for New Orleans, just Buffalo taking it really, really early on and then just never looking back. So I think you just have to go with the Bills here. It's a shame that the Saints are hit with this right after they completely got blown out in Seattle. And the Bills also really need to. And if this game's close, I swear if this game is close, memes are going to go crazy this week if this game is even remotely close. So we'll see. And then we got another. Speaking of close games last week that probably should have been blowouts, at least for one team's case, we got another noon game. We got the Cleveland Browns going to the Detroit Lions. Cleveland, congratulations for last week. You probably pulled the upset of the season so far. And the problem is, I don't think you can be celebrating too much about it because a lot of that was the Packers collapsing on themselves. But hey, you took advantage of the situation. You took advantage of their errors, and that's what teams that come out on top do. They take advantage of the teams of their other teams' misfortunes and use it against them. As for the Lions, what a thriller on Sunday night. They needed a comeback, but they managed to do that. I think putting up 21 straight points on the Ravens in the third and fourth quarter to really seal the game away. And it's just a reminder that 1 week in week 1 does not define who a team is. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting wait to see how Cleveland follows up their um, upset victory over Green Bay. Do they take that momentum and somehow go into Motor City, facing off against probably one of the biggest Super Bowl contenders of the NFC, and go and shocking the entire league again? No, I am going to go with the Lions here. As fun as it would be to pick the Browns this week, I don't see them repeating that success 2 weeks in a row. I think the Lions have proven that they've really learned from their Week 1 struggle and have come into form more as time goes on. It will be interesting to see how Cleveland follows up, and it is going to be the same questions as last week, though. When do you start Joe? When do you start put in Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders over Joe Flacco? Because even in that win, Flacco didn't look very good. Because neither of the offenses looked really good last week for either the Packers or the Browns. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the Browns really follow up that shocking victory. But hey, if you pull off this week, maybe you'll have some people going on your side come week 5. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers taking on the New England Patriots. The Panthers last week, they looked really, really damn good last week. Bryce Young had a career day for his first victory of the season. This is more of the Panthers team I was expecting. This is the Panthers team I was kind of expecting a little bit more of at the beginning of the season. I don't know if the offense is going to keep it up though. At the same time though, you still lost the total yards battle and the first down battle. And you did commit a lot of penalties, but you did win the time of possession, which is pretty damn important. No picks for Bryce Young. I want to say he had he didn't even have. Actually, he didn't even really have that impressive of a day. Now looking at his stats, I think it was more on the rush attack and the defense really stepping up for the Panthers more than Bryce Young really put forth. So we're still not really seeing Bryce Young at his peak. So I take back what I said a little bit ago about Bryce Young looking different, but it will speak. It will. But does that bring momentum to him? Does that gigantic victory really change things? I don't know. New England, on the other hand, they probably should have won that game, but their own self-collapse really hurt them in the end, especially on that fourth down play. I don't get what you were thinking on that. Not trying to step back to reach for the first down instead of just reaching over and guaranteeing it. But anyways, the Patriots really, really had a heartbreaking loss last week. They still looked pretty decent. I don't think they played up to their standards that they did the past 2 weeks, but it is going to be interesting to see how they do this upcoming week against Carolina. And I think I am going to go with the Patriots here. I expect the Drake May to have a little bit of a bounce back game. I expect Bryce Young to continue looking like the way he has, because I can't really take this Panthers team seriously the way that they've been playing so far. So I am going to go New England. I did at the beginning of the year say both teams would look better, but I really believed that in New England. I really thought they were going to be a lot better than they have been looking, but it's not too late to really change that, Next up, we got the 3-0 LA Chargers going to the 0-3 New York Giants. The Chargers, probably, maybe outside of the Bills, the most complete team in the AFC right now. Good Lord, they've looked really good. And while it did take a field goal to walk off against the Broncos, This team has looked a lot more better. Chargers fans, I dare you to hope right now, because this team might be the best Chargers team we've seen in a like a decade or so. As for the Giants, yeah, I expected the Chiefs to really bounce back against the Giants, and they while the Giants did hold them close early on, the Chiefs did put them away in the second half. So Russell Wilson just does not look like the guy. He is being benched in favor of Jackson Dart this week, so we'll see how the Giants offense fares under him. And honestly, this might be a closer game than people expect. Because the Chargers are riding off a really big high, while the Chargers on the other side are just like, or not the Chargers, the Giants are just looking for any kind of consistency and momentum, that you might actually see a closer game than people think. I am still going to go with the Chargers this week, just because I do think they're the more talented team, but do not be surprised if Dart has a great start and the Giants keep this thing close. Because I think the Chargers may overlook the Giants this week. And the New York is really Jackson Dart's really going to try and prove himself this week, especially against a good Chargers defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game's closer than people think it is. But I do still expect the Chargers to come out on top. We got a criminally timed game this week. We got the 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles taking on the 3-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why is this game at noon too? Last week we had probably one of the biggest games of the year with the Rams and Eagles also at noon. I don't mind if you put like the Eagles in the noon slate on one of these games, but for both of these being noon, that's just harsh. I know you also put the Eagles and Chiefs at like 3:25, and the Eagles were the kickoff game, but still. And speaking of which, the Eagles have probably looked like one of the best teams so far in the league. They really needed every single minute to pull off their victories, but they made every minute count. They've gone 3-0 so far. I think probably they've looked better every single week, and it's going to be a very, very interesting way to enter this game because Tampa's also looked pretty damn good. They did let the Jets into the game last week, and while it could be a testament to just how the Jets have been playing this week or this entire year, the Buccaneers have also really been clutch in these big moments, just like the Eagles have been. They won in a nail biter in their opening game against Atlanta on the road. They won in a nail biting game in Houston. They won on a walked off field goal after the previous attempt was blocked and returned for a touchdown last week against the Jets. So it's going to be really, really interesting, especially if this game's close, because these teams know how to win in these big games and close games. So who's going to be the one that really, really comes out on top? Who's going to step up and play lights out football in the final 3 or 4 minutes to really prove that they truly deserve to win this game? As I said, the Eagles have looked really, really damn good. Probably better than I expected them to. But the thing about Tampa is I have really high expectations for the Buccaneers this year. I know I picked them in week 2 to fall to the Texans. But this Bucs team has looked a lot better than I thought they were going to look going into this year. And I had really high expectations for the Buccaneers. So I hate to do this to people like Andrew or whatnot, but I am going to go with the Buccaneers this week. They are playing at home, and I think Baker Mayfield's really, really going to put on the Superman cape this week. I get the defense for the Buccaneers is a little bit shaky, and the Eagles has just like picked up like where it left off. But I think in this game, it's going to come down to the final minutes. And I think Tampa's going to prove why they might be the Eagles' biggest threat in the NFC. And Andrew, I swear to God, if I'm talking to Andrew Moto here, I swear to God, if you suck God's dick again for the Eagles to come back from like 19 points down to win on 2 blocked field goals, we are going to have a conversation because that behavior needs to stop. You can't be doing that every single week. Even I didn't do that for every single time I needed the Chiefs to really hold on to the game. I didn't even do that, but God, it's like you're like bending over, begging for God's will for the Eagles to win these games. Man. And then we got the final noon game we're going to predict this week. They got the 0-3 Tennessee Titans taking on the 0-3 Houston Texans. That's a statement I did not think I was going to be saying this week. But both of these teams are sitting at 0-3, and both of these teams had really different expectations going into this year. Tennessee, Cam Ward just has not looked like the quarterback that they really have had expected them to look like. But at the same time, he does not have the offense around him to really put on the performance like Tennessee home team would. That the offense just looks kind of miserable, and it's easy to see why people are counting Tennessee out right out and about right now, and potentially getting another number 1 pick. Meanwhile, for the Texans, that offense looks miserable, and being a Chiefs fan, I know the exact reason why. That damn O-line. Stroud has had no time to do anything behind that horrendous O-line. It's like the Chiefs gift wrapped their O-line and sent it to the Texans this past offseason or whatever. Because, yikes. So expect this to be a massively defensively battled game. Expect this to be a low-scoring game because these two offenses are not going to be producing much. However, with the Texans and their expectations of being a potential Super Bowl contender this year, at the very least, they're fighting to now be a playoff contender again. I'm going with the Texans. Just like last week with the Chiefs going to New York against the Giants, Houston cannot afford to go 0-4 to start off the year, especially losing to the Titans. Maybe the Jacksonville loss was hey, Jacksonville might be a bit better than people have expected. But the Titans, if the Texans drop one, especially since it's at home, then they're going to be on life support. But I do think the Texans do pick up their first win this week. It's not going to be a really good one by any standards, but it is going to be a very, very important victory for the Texans going forward. And if they drop to 0-4, and I would say I have it bad, if I was a Texans fan right now, yikes. And then we got one of the more interesting matchups this week. A 3:05 slated game. We got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Whew. The Colts and their offense. Oh my goodness. Who thought Daniel Jones was going to be the Sam Darnold this year and to lead the Colts to 3 really, really greatly performed games this week, this year so far? They beat up on the Dolphins. They managed to really wreck around the Denver defense, and last week they took advantage of a really, really weak Titans team. They are going to go up against probably the toughest team on their schedule so far, the Los Angeles Rams, who had 2 blocked field goals against the Eagles at the end of the game that costed them the game. And they also blew like a 19-point lead or something to the Eagles as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting game for both of these sides. You have to recall as well how the Colts handled the Denver defense and how the Rams really, really held Philly down for like maybe 2.5 to 3 quarters of the game. And it's going to be a very, very interesting decision to make. Indy can really strengthen their grip on the AFC South with the win, and the Rams really need this game to um, keep up with like San Fran and Seattle in the NFC West title race at this point. So I am going to go with the Rams. I would not be surprised if the Colts won this week. I am buying what the Colts are selling right now. I just think the Rams are the more talented team. I think the they got the weaponry to really mess around with the Colts defense this week. And I think Indy does finally drop a game, but I do think the Colts are easily now the favorites to win the AFC South. So it's going to be a really, really exciting game to watch. And hey, if the Colts win, then they probably might be for real. They might be. Next game, another 3:05 slated game. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars going to the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners have just been banged up this season. They lost Nick Bosa for, I believe, the rest of the year. Let me look that up real quick. And it just hurt. It just hurts how many people are getting injured. But at the same time, they've looked good without their key players, and that's what makes them dangerous. If they get all of their weapons and key pieces back, this might be the biggest threat in the this might be one of the best teams in the entire league. Yeah, Nick Bosa is out for the year, unfortunately, with let's see, with a ACL tear. Yikes. So yeah, it is gonna be so they are gonna be missing a really, really big piece on defense, and it's just, you just wonder how long the Niners are gonna keep holding it up to like this. Meanwhile, for the Jaguars, they did not look great in their win against Houston. But hey, you take a win when you can get a win. You're 2-1 right now. You cannot be complaining. And you just wonder when the Jaguars are really gonna turn it up. They could easily be 3-0 right now. I'd like to remind you of that. They could easily be 3-0. So I think for this game, I am calling an upset. I am going to go with Jacksonville this week. While I do like how the Niners have looked, Jacksonville, I think of when a battle of these two teams, I think the healthier team at this point is really, really going to help them. And I think Jacksonville is going to be the better team to rely on. I think Brock Purdy does come back, but the question, but I don't know if he'll be 100% going into this game. Who knows? I think I am going to go Jacksonville here, just to play it a bit safer. But hey, if the Niners continue to look the way they do without their key pieces, they might be a sneaky wildcard contender. Next up on the slate, though, we got the 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time. You got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the 4-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Both of these teams really need this game. One of these teams is going to go 1-3 after this week. I don't think anyone would be expecting that going into this week. The Ravens have just had their trouble. It's holding on to these big games. They cannot be able to stay consistent with these big games. As for the Chiefs, the offense just does not look great. The defense looked like it came back to light, but the offense is just still not really quite there. I think if they figure out that the run game works pretty damn well, I think the Chiefs could. But the problem is, Andy Reid does not like to call run plays. And that's a problem because because the receivers aren't that great. We're still missing Rashee Rice. He's in week 4 of his 6 week suspension. Um, and as for Worthy, he may be back this week, which could be crucial to how this game plays out. But he's gotta be on the field to really make the big difference. And even if he does, we don't know if he's gonna be 100%. I think the Chiefs really need to rely on the run game a lot more, especially with the receivers going down a little bit. As for the Ravens, you just need to, you just gotta pray Derrick Henry does not cough up the ball at a really bad time, because that's been part of the problem for their 2 losses they've taken so far. Week 1, a massive fumble to really give Buffalo the ball back, and in to allow them to go on a game-winning drive, and in week 3, it really set up the Lions' momentum to allow them to crawl back into this game. So you just wonder if the Ravens can truly keep up. The Ravens look like the better team. They really do. And I wouldn't be mad for anyone picking, and I would understand why people are picking Baltimore. But it is a tough decision. I really wanted to go Baltimore this week, but I am gonna go with the Chiefs. I think if they can establish the run game early and really allow Hunt and Pacheco to really go off against this Ravens defense, it is going to be tough. It's not going to be guaranteed whatsoever. I think the Chiefs really do have a chance to win this game, especially considering how the way Baltimore's been playing these past 3 weeks, minus the Cleveland game, obviously, because that was a route from the very beginning. But yeah, it's just something you really you just got to take advantage of the Ravens collapsing on themselves. And I think that's a thing Kansas City does really well. They take advantage of these mistakes that the other team makes. And Baltimore's going to make a couple of mistakes that probably might cost them this game, but the Chiefs, if they take advantage of them, establish the run game, and if they get Xavier Worthy back this week, look out, because this could be a really big game for Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. We got the other 325 game here. You got the Chicago Bears taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Bears steamrolled the Cowboys last week. Caleb Williams had his game of the year so far, which it's not saying much because it was probably the only game where he actually looked really good. And who knows how much of that game is a testament just to how bad Dallas is at this point. But you take a win whenever you can get it, and now they hope to carry this momentum to the Raiders game, who ended up losing last week. They lost to a Jaden Daniels Washington Commanders team. And that offense just has not been clicking the way that people have been really expecting them to. Ashton Jeanty has just not looked the way he probably should, which sucks for me personally because I drafted him first on my fantasy team in my group, so that really sucks. But yeah, if the Raiders can really get going with that, there's a pretty good chance that they win this game. I think I am going to go with the Bears here. I think they are going to take advantage. I think the Raiders offense isn't just going to show up at this moment in time, and the Bears are going to take advantage of these easier games on the schedule. I think the Bears are going to take this game kind of early on offense. Maybe if they allow the Raiders back into this game later on. I do expect the Bears, though, to come out on top in this game. I still expect them to go to the wild card round this year, and if the Bears just look pretty good this week, this could be a sleeper team in the NFC wildcard race. Next up, we got the Micah Parsons revenge game. On Sunday Night Football, you got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. As I said, everyone knows that at this point, Micah Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers from Dallas, and now they come back face to face again. The Packers, though, that hurt. That Week 3 loss to the Browns, that hurt. That's probably the worst game I've ever seen the Packers do, and they looked like the best team in the league up until that point. And then the offense suddenly went, suddenly left with a whimper, and the defense completely collapsed when they should have held the Browns at the most crucial times. And then special teams. They allowed them a blocked field goal to win them the game, and to drive down and win on a game-winning field goal. So the Packers are looking to really rebound this week. Meanwhile, Dallas, can things go any worse? Not only did they get blown up by the Bears, but they lost CeeDee Lamb for an extended period of time. And with a high ankle sprain too. We don't know how many games CeeDee Lamb's gonna miss, but it is gonna be some time without him, which is kind of crucial because now you're just relying on George Pickens to really be on the offensive front for the Cowboys. That defense, though, is probably one of the most miserable looking units I've seen in quite some time. And you just hate it as a Cowboys fan. So, look, and you're facing off against your former star edge rusher, who you traded during the last week of the offseason to one of your most hated rivals of all time, who just came off a loss that they are extremely pissed about. I think you know how the story goes. The Packers take this game probably in a blowout. This is probably the second biggest blowout of the week besides the Saints and Bills game. And as a Cowboys fan, you just wonder how long Jerry Jones is gonna keep saying that this team is a playoff contender or even a Super Bowl contender before he snaps into reality. As a non-Cowboys fan, I'd say please don't, Jerry Jones. You are a comedian, and I love your act. And then finally, we got 2 Monday Night Football games this week. As you can see up here, we got the first game, a 6:15 kickoff between the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Both of these teams sitting at 0-3. I am so sorry to the people that have to watch these games, though. The Jets have looked better than people were thinking. They played close in 2 of the 3 games that they were in, and yet the problem with the Jets also, besides the defense not being up to standard, it's just finishing games. They do not know how to finish games. They had the opposite problem the Bucs had last week, and that's what really allowed the Bucs to win this game. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, they've just looked dysfunctional since the start. Blown out by Indy, lost to New England at home, and then lost to Buffalo on the road. So, both of these teams are looking for really good get-right games. So, who comes out on top? It's going to be a surprising pick, but I am going to go with the Dolphins this week. I think they're the more talented team, and I think the Jets just do not know how to win games to save their life. It is going to be difficult to watch in this game. I don't expect either. I could expect I could even expect. Actually, how is this game going to go? I don't even know. It's just not going to be a pretty one to watch. To all the fans of both teams, I am so sorry. You got to be embarrassed on live TV. Finally, we got the second game, 7:15 kickoff Central Standard Time. You got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Denver Broncos. The Bengals, they might be fucked. Yes, it was their first loss, but you're still missing your quarterback. Your offense did not look good under your backup, and you got exposed by a team that also was missing their starting quarterback. So that was not a good look at all. They might be the most panicked 2-1 team in the league. As for the Broncos, they didn't really come up clutch against the Chargers, and Denver's just not looking. They're missing something on that front, and they really need a get right game. And I think they are going to get it in this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. I am going to go with Denver in this final game, and I expect this to be a complete blowout. The Bengals just have not looked great. I think they probably are, but Jake Browning is not that bad of a quarterback. I think just the morale and of this team losing their starting quarterback again, who's now looking like the current version of Andrew Luck. It's just not. It's just not in the right mindset at the moment. As for the Broncos, they really need to get back on track. This is their get right game. Expect this to be over. Maybe what? Expect Happy Trails to be playing by the end of the third quarter. If you know what that means, good on you. And as for the Saints game and Bills game earlier, expect the Bills to be playing that with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. How many points is going to be scored in that game between the Bengals and Broncos? I'm going to go a lower score. I think I'm going to go with like 50. I think Denver's going to put up like 35 something. The Bengals maybe like 10 or something. So this could be ugly quickly. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this week, and that's gonna do it for this stream. So hopefully we can improve on our 11-5 record last week. I did pick a upset or two this week, but a lot of these were safer picks. So we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share the channel around. It helps me grow. If there is a hype button, I don't know if there is. Be sure to hype up the stream a little bit. Share around what I do with people and such. Let's see. I don't think I have anything else to tell y'all. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. Trust me, exams. Especially exams. It's been a mess. I can't wait till Sunday. I really can't wait till Sunday. I get my day off. So, with that being said, let's see if we can get up to maybe to 43 wins in total by the end of this next week. But with that being said, see you later, peeps. Thanks for watching.